Hello, friends. I'm Pastor Chester Hitchcock. Recently, I posted a video titled, "Was Jesus a Conservative?" Since then, I have been asked to explain that topic a little further. At the end of this video, I will share a link for you to watch that one. But here in this video, I want to build upon the premise that I established there, that Jesus was crucified because he was far too liberal for the religious people of his day. But before getting to that, I want to encourage you that if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, hit that subscribe button anytime during the video. It's free to subscribe, and I produce videos on a regular basis. And don't forget to hit like and to share it with a friend as well. But when it comes to Jesus being conservative or liberal, just ask yourself, did Jesus get crucified because the religious people felt that he was being too pushy about everything being just right? Was he crucified because the religious people felt that Jesus was too hard on those who were trying to do the best that they could? No, of course not. Jesus was crucified because he wasn't strict enough. Jesus hung out with lepers and prostitutes and Samaritans and Roman soldiers, and he told a mob that was threatening a woman who was caught in adultery, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." He said, "Judge not, lest you be judged yourself," in Matthew chapter 7, verse 1. He taught, "Love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who persecute you," in Matthew chapter 5, verse 44. Jesus asserted that he had come to, quote, "preach good news to the poor, to proclaim freedom to the prisoners and release to the oppressed," in Luke chapter 4, verses 18 and 19. And he instructed his followers to know the truth, and the truth will set you free, in John chapter 8, verse 32. The dictionary tells us that the word liberal derives from the Latin word liberalis, which means generous. And Jesus said, when you give a feast, invite the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed because they cannot repay you. You will be repaid at the resurrection of the just. Luke chapter 14, verses 13 and 14. The defining message of the four accounts of the gospel and of Jesus himself is this: helping the poor, healing the sick, clothe the naked, feed the hungry, uplift the underdog, care for children, distribute wealth, be mindful of the immigrants and the strangers in your land, etc., etc. The original followers of Christ preached this message. It was all about the underdog and the downtrodden and those who were bullied by the elite powers. It was about the sick and the poor. Christianity had its beginning in the teachings of the four accounts of the gospel of Jesus, but something strange has happened to this Christian message. Not long after the original disciples, the message of Jesus was taken captive. They bound it and gagged it and currently keep it hidden in a windowless room in the most secluded room in the church. Meanwhile, they make claims that God hates homosexuals and thinks that the poor are poor because they are lazy and dope peddling good-for-nothings. That's the bad news. The good news is the truth that was hidden in the secluded room in the church has escaped. That's because Jesus is a spiritual escape artist. He slips out of any straitjacket that you put him in, and nobody has been able to hold him or to silence him, not even the church. And Jesus not only has the power to liberate himself from the confines of religiosity, he also came to liberate all who are held captive by the religious demands of right-wing conservatism, just as he did for those who were held captive by the demands of the Pharisees and the Sadducees of his day. Many have claimed that Jesus was apolitical. In other words, he cared nothing about the challenging political injustice and economic inequality, that he was not interested in destroying the power structures that imprison us, and I could not disagree more. Jesus was committed so passionately to freeing people from all bonds that he didn't limit himself to just railing against the Roman Empire. Nevertheless, he was a truth-speaking liberator who who aimed for nothing less than overturning the money changer tables of the corrupted human heart. On the other hand, politically speaking, the Pharisees and the Sadducees comprised the ruling class of the Jews in Israel. Both groups were religious. Both groups honored Moses and the law, and both groups had a measure of political power. Therefore, when Jesus debated with the Pharisees and Sadducees, he was dealing with political issues and the powers of Jewish society. Socially, the Sadducees were more elitist and aristocratic than the Pharisees. Sadducees tend to be more wealthy and they held more positions. They were the chief priests and the high priests. They were all Sadducees. The Pharisees, they were more representative of the common working people, and they had the respect of the masses. The Sadducees' place of power was the temple in Jerusalem, while the Pharisees controlled all of the synagogues. Also, the Sadducees were more accommodating to the Roman laws than the Pharisees were. The Pharisees, they often resisted Hellenization. Hellenization was the Greek influence of language and culture in Jewish life, while the Sadducees welcomed it. However, since the Sadducees were more interested in politics than they were in religion, they largely ignored Jesus more than the Pharisees did, at least until they began to fear that Jesus might bring unwanted Roman attention and upset their status quo. It was at that point that the Pharisees and the Sadducees put aside their differences and united and conspired to put Jesus to death. And to not recognize that right-wing Christianity and elitist government leaders are repeating a religio-political uniting similar to that of the Pharisees and the Sadducees is to fall into the same trap as the common Jewish worshippers of his day, who blindly followed the religious leaders to crucify Christ. After all, their status quo was going to be upset, so they united against any attempt to liberate the poor and the needy, to care for the underdog and stranger, to treat those who are different with equality, and generally to treat people as Jesus treated them. The fact is, those who cried, crucify him, were the same voices who shouted, give us Barabbas. In other words, give us a criminal. Give us one whom we know to be a criminal. We would rather have him than we would to have the one who wants to liberate those whom we have been taught are unacceptable to God. We would rather have one we know who has cheated and stole and lived an immoral life than one who challenges our wealth and calls us to treat immigrants as equal. After all, we don't want people becoming dependent upon entitlements. If we do, the rich might have to pay their fair share of taxes. This Jesus, he's too generous to the poor. Give us Barabbas, an unlawful, immoral criminal, and crucify the liberator. If this offends you, I'm sorry. But keep in mind, Jesus died because his liberal ways offended people. So you tell me, was Jesus a liberal? Well, we have to examine the moral teachings of Jesus to see if they closely fit the moral principles of the liberals or the conservatives. As I read the record, Jesus sounds more like a liberal when he reprimands the money changers and tells the followers to give up their belongings and abandon their families and to follow him. We also have to examine his character to see if it matches those who concede with the wishes of a leader who is arrogant or with one who is kind. One need not look any further than the Beatitudes from the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 5, verses 3 through 9, which do more closely echo the sentiments of the liberals more than the conservatives. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God. As hard as it is for many Christians today to believe, Jesus was crucified because he was too liberal for the conservative religious leaders who partnered with the elite political leaders to silence the one who threatened Jewish nationalism. And we find ourselves today in a parallel situation when it comes to politics. Am I saying, as many evangelicals do, that this is a sign that Jesus' return is right around the corner? Well, as much as I hope that his return is just right around the corner, I believe that for far too long Christians have pointed to first one thing and then another in an attempt to strike fear into the hearts of everyone that Jesus is coming soon and so you'd better get ready. That too is a ploy most often used by the conservatives. Let's be clear. Jesus is coming again, and the sooner the better. But whether it is today, tomorrow, or 100 years from now, may his followers be known for their desire to liberate those who are held hostage by elitism that claims that some are more worthy than others due to their place of birth, color of skin, gender, or even gender identity. But don't forget, those who truly follow Jesus will suffer the same persecution he did. He died because he was too liberal for the religious people of his day. If this video has been informative to you, hit that like button and share it with a friend. And don't forget to leave a message in the comment section. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so that you can get a notification the next time a video is produced. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.